for software, you can use caches. And caches works with the principle of temporal and partial locality, which means that when you are accessing a world of data, you are likely to access in the next milliseconds the words which are nearby. So you can put the complete burst into a SRAM, which is on chip. And every time the software requires a word, you search this cache. And if it's in the cache, you can get it in one cycle. Otherwise, you have to fetch from the main memory. And in the cache, you store always the complete burst every time you get them from the memory controller. And using this burst system, it really simplifies a lot the SGM controller design, the signaling of the memory bus, arbitration of the bus, and also cache controllers. It's really stupid. I mean, you just have to have a counter inside your memory controller and you request all addresses, and it turns out to work pretty well. You don't have to do any kind of speculative execution or anything complex. So I will explain now how you can distort an image with a good performance. So first, what I mean with distortion. Distortion is basically doing this effect, as you can see in the picture. You take a square image and you can just shrink it, or you can zoom it, you can do whatever you want with it. So more precisely, what I'm doing is what is called texture mapping when you are doing OpenGL. So basically, the Milgrove preset equations, they define a mapping that I call F, which transform a point which x and y coordinates into another point which has another x and y coordinates. And this mapping means that the point at x and y coordinates in the source image should be at capital X and capital Y in the destination image. For example, if you want to zoom by a factor of 2, you can use this function, which multiplies each coordinate by 2. So if you have this first pixel, it will be at 0, 0. The next one will be at 2, 2, etc. So it just expands the pixel. But the problem you have with it is that how to fill the holes, because if you scan the source image and apply the function every time, you will, if you take this function, for example, you will only fill one pixel out of 2 in the destination picture, and this cannot work. So what I'm doing and what graphics cards do is called the tessellation. So you are covering the image with squares, and then you distort these squares, and you have a primitive for distorting squares or triangles in the hardware. So what I'm using is a triangle strip. So I tessellate the source image with triangles like this. Then I apply the mapping at each cross point in the grid here. And then some unit will draw each triangle in the destination image here. So that's basically interpolation, linear interpolation to fill the blanks in the image. So now this sounds quite easy. I mean, you can just do it with some software. But the problem here is performance. If you want to achieve 30 frames per second at XVGA resolution, the texture mapping unit, it must process 24 million pixels per second. Which means that if your system on chip is running with a 100 megahertz clock, you have only 4 clock cycles to process 1 pixel. So if you are doing a naive implementation, which could be software, for each pixel, you need 100 cycles of mathematical operation. If you are doing stupid memory access, you need 12 cycles to read your pixel and 12 cycles to write one. So in total, you have 124 cycles if you do it in the software. Well, that's not good. You need 4 cycles, and if you do it in software, you have 124. So what can you do for this big speedup that you need? First, you can improve the algorithm. So math that I gave was done in a stupid way with a lot of multiply and divides, which is very slow. You can do implementation with the Bresenham linear interpolation algorithm, which is much faster. You can also do simultaneous SIMD parallelism, which means that the same operation on independent data can be done in parallel. For example, computing X and Y in the source image are completely independent operations. So you can have 2 similar units and feed them the data, and they can process in parallel. You can also pipeline. You can also use pipelining. Pipelining is basically the equivalent of chain work. You have a chain of small hardware units which are very fast at performing a very simple operation, and they work in a chain. For example, in the Milky Mist texture mapping unit, I have made 14 pipeline stages. The first stage will fetch the vertex data from the bus, I mean the coordinates for the distortion. It will keep fetching and put them down the pipeline. The other one will do, for example, computing the deltas between the pixels. So it does actually very fast, it's only an operation. Then other pipeline will do the divisions required for the Bresenham algorithm. Then another stage will do the actual approximation. Another one will scan the triangles. Another one will fetch the source pixel, and it's the actual work. And this gets very fast. I have only 14 pipeline stages. This will go as I add more features to the graphical pipeline. And if you take a commercial GPU, on some architecture you can have hundreds of pipeline stages. Finally, as I said, you need smart memory access, because in my previous computation, you needed 24 cycles in total. So memory is already a problem, because you need to process the complete thing in 4 cycles, and memory is already taking 24. So that's bad. So what the techniques I'm using is using a cache and a write buffer. I will focus now on the memory read problem. I will not explain the other things. So for reading the memory, currently it takes 12 cycles and you have at most 4. So what I will be doing is using the burst memory and putting them into a cache. So a cache is a SRAM chip inside the FPGA, which can store some number of limited number of bursts, because the cache has a limited capacity. If you put too big a cache, you need a lot of memory. And as I said, SRAM is extremely expensive, especially if it's on chip. So you have to limit the cache size to a few kilobytes. So it limits the total number of bursts that you could take. So now, the problem is, when you have a burst here, this pixel was needed. So you're sure that this read was absolutely needed. But the problem is, will you be able to also use this other data that you get from the burst? So that's what I'm going to explain on a simple example, the rotation of a triangle. So you have the original triangle that you need to rotate here, and when it gets rotated, it ends up with this triangle, and the texture mapping unit in Milky Mist is filling these triangles with scan lines, which means that it will draw all these pixels in this row, then all this one in this row, etc., etc. So, and when you see what happens from the original triangle, which generates the memory reads, you can see that it tries to fetch data from here, from here, from here, in this order. So let's see what happens when you draw this scan line and then this one. So you draw this one, and you fetch these pixels. These pixels are not in the cache, if you assume the cache is empty at the beginning. So all these pixels will generate cache misses here, and cache misses will generate memory read bursts, and the memory read bursts are linear, and the frame buffer is also in linear scan order. So the pixel which gets fetched from the burst are these ones. And so this scan line gets drawn, and all these pixels here end up in the cache. And then, when the texture mapping unit draws the second scan line, it draws it like this, and these pixels need to be read, but as I said, they are now in the cache. So this will generate cache hits. So these cache misses will take like 12 cycles to get, these pixels will take 12 cycles to be read from the memory, but these ones have been put in the cache because of the previous reads, and they will only take 1 cycle. So it looks like it can work. So I have done some simulations of the design. I have completed the design of the texture mapping unit including a cache, and I have done some simulations on real cases. So I have taken some sample maps from MIGDrop, and I have put them in the simulation. I have run the simulation for a few hours, and it ends up with this graph. So here you have the cache size in bytes. Here it's 10 kilobytes, 20 kilobytes, etc. And here's the hit rate. So the hit rate is the percentage of pixels which are served by the cache. So when you have a cache hit, it takes 1 cycle. Otherwise, it takes like 12. And as you can see, even with a small cache here, you already have a very good hit rate. And then, if you keep increasing the cache size, it doesn't improve much, but it uses a lot of memory. So a good compromise would be to use a 4 kilobyte cache. It's only 4 kilobytes, it costs peanuts. It really fits in the FPGA. You have 94% of the requests get served from the cache. And if you compute the average memory access times, it's only 1.4 cycles. So the problem is solved. Now you have reduced the memory access time from 12 cycles to 1.4. That's perfect. So Another study that I needed was evaluating the mail drop equations.